Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us this fine Tuesday morning. So at least I'm seeing a lot of familiar names coming in, more people streaming in. Is good. So guess we should be able to start. So hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyaru and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session, or at least the first daily analysis session in a very long time. I'm glad that you could join us today. So remember, these sessions are being streamed on multiple platforms, be it YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are. So you should be able to at least even see the recording. Like that. So I guess we should be able to start. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list before we do end up having a look at the pairs that we're going to be looking at today. So those of you who were there yesterday, remember we did have our watch list. Yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, and the Swiss franc, and we're looking to mix and match those pairs with the pairs on the sell side, which was the New Zealand dollar, the euro, the British pound, and the Japanese yen, as well as the Australian dollar. So today, the only difference that there's been is the fact that you can see we're still looking for buying opportunities of Canadian dollar, the US dollar, and the Swiss franc. However, we have added the euro pairs to the buy side. So we'll be looking for buying opportunities on the euro. However, do trade it with caution. We do end up looking at the fundamentals that we do have today. You should be able to see that there is a lot of fundamentals for the euro. So you can see from midday around 12 o'clock, we have a lot of fundamentals. So do end up expecting there will be volatility at that particular time. But other than that, this is going to be our watch list. If there are any changes, we will end up informing you on our Telegram channel. So do make sure you are also joined for that. So we'll start off with main pairs. So we'll start off with the currency pairs. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar pairs, mix and match that with the pairs on the sell side. Do the same way with the US dollar, the Swiss franc, as well as the euro, before we do have a look at for gold, silver, as well as the indices available. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on this currency pair, as you can see on the watch list, the New Zealand dollar and the Canadian dollar. The New Zealand dollar, we're looking for sales, as well as the Canadian dollar, we're looking for buying opportunities. That means on this currency pair, we will be looking for selling opportunities. Now, we do always, and we will always have these three levels that will indicate. So today, since we are looking for selling opportunities, we'll be focusing on these three areas. So remember, we do have the aggressive area here, or the red support and resistance. If the price breaks and holds above this red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list. In terms of the selling opportunities that we're looking for, will no longer be valid. Now, you can realize, or at least you've noticed, right now we're back within a particular buyer's area. Remember, since we are looking for sells, the worst place to look for a sell is within a buyer's area. Always look for sells where they're sellers and buyers where they're buyers. So the fact that right now we're within this buyer's area, it's not necessarily the best place to look for the sell. Hopefully, we can get the price actually giving us a pullback, where you might find that this price could actually start ranging between these levels. So if we do end up seeing the market maybe pulling back towards this level, and you find the price is there within one of the market opening times. Remember, we said it's either 10 o'clock, which is the London market open, 3 p.m., which is the US market open, and 4:30, which is the New York Stock Exchange open. So within those times, they could end up bringing some volatility at the market. So we'll be looking to see if we can be able to grab some selling opportunities, whether or not the price is here, whether or not it actually goes all the way till the top area, we will still be looking for sales. But what's most likely to happen? If we're seeing the way the buyers have been reacting, not necessarily showing that much aggression, there's a possibility. If they don't necessarily give us much of a signal here, we could end up finding the price breaking this area to the downside. And if it does, we should end up waiting for a pullback to be able to look for selling opportunities to take it down lower. And remember, watch out for those market opening times. But for right now, there is nothing much we can do. Looking for a buy would be very risky, because remember, the bias overall is for us to look for sales. So it's where is the best location for us to look for those selling opportunities. So I hope that's clear, the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. As we're moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, which we do have the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, on this currency pair, similar situation, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So we have identified the three locations that we'll be focusing on. The aggressive sellers area right there. We have the semi-conservative area right here in the middle, where you can see the price is reacting, which is a good thing, as well as we have the area where there are buyers. So this is definitely a problem area. So right now we can see the way the price is reacting. It's a good sign, especially due to the fact that you can see how the buyers came up very aggressive. The sellers not necessarily doing much. The buyers attempted within this support and resistance area to attempt to go up higher, but you can see they seem to be struggling quite a bit, and the sellers have reacted again. But the same way we keep on mentioning, if we're looking for sells, look for sells where they're sellers and buys where they're buyers. Right now, if you were to jump in on a sell, it would not be a wise idea. You can see there's an area where buyers have reacted from before. What we want to see is hopefully some sort of struggle for it to come up, and we possibly could end up looking for a selling opportunity there, or waiting for a breach to the downside for us to be able to look for those selling opportunities on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. But for right now, I think it's best just to be patient, wait to see how these buyers react. Now, if we do get the price coming back and all the way down within this area, do make sure you do some sort of trade management. If you do end up entering a trade, you never know whether or not these buyers are going to come back in. You can see they were quite aggressive. You never know whether or not they could end up still showing that aggression as well. So we'll be watching out for these selling opportunities. But right now, let's wait to see if we can be able to get a bit more of a pullback. But right now, it is starting to show nice signs that these buyers could be slowing down and the sellers could potentially come back in. So just watch out for that on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So we will move on to the next Canadian dollar pair, which we do have, which is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, on this currency pair, our bias yesterday and today, technically, we are meant to be looking for buying opportunities on this pair. So we do have these three areas that we'll be watching out for. The very aggressive buyers area right here at the bottom. You can see whenever the price approaches this particular area, it doesn't matter how aggressive it comes in, the buyers do end up reacting. So we'll wait to see, or at least the buys are valid as long as the price is holding above this particular area. We do have a conservative area right here. You can see this is a major support and resistance area. Once the price breaches the upside, you can see how much it held above within this particular area. Remember, we did also point out the market opening time. So if you take a note of 10 o'clock and see what happened at 10, look at what happened at 3 p.m. and look at what happened at 4:30. Note, this is East African time for those of you who are not necessarily in Kenya, but we'll be looking at, or at least try and identify what happens within those particular times. You can see at 10 o'clock, the price had just probed within this area, holding above, and you can see the price managed to continue going up higher, coming all the way back towards these main sellers. Right now, we seem to have approached, or at least gotten back this seller's area. Sellers are not really been able to do much, but remember, since we're looking for buying opportunities, looking for a selling opportunity where, a buying opportunity where the sellers could be quite risky. The best thing here, if this is a bad place to look for your trade, possibly wait for a breach to the upside. And once the price breaches and holds above, so on that pullback, don't necessarily look for buys when the price is all the way up there. You can see what happened if you had done that within this particular period. You can see right here, if the price came all the way up and you just looked for a buy and did not get confirmation that the price was actually holding above, you could end up getting a probe and you could find the price actually coming down low. So always wait for that confirmation. So if we do get the price breaching and we get that pullback coming in and we find the price holding above, and hopefully you do end up seeing the price there within one of the market opening times. Remember 10, 3 or 4:30, could end up finding a very nice buying opportunity to take the price up high. But for now, we just need to be a bit patient and wait for or at least your entry criteria and the best location to actually jump in on those trades. So that's that for the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So we'll move on to the last Canadian dollar pair, which we do have, which is the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, on this currency pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So we do have three areas of interest that we'll be looking at. So we do have an area of interest right here where the main sellers are. We have the buyers area here where it does seem that the price has reacted. So now this, or at least this reaction that we're seeing, is definitely has something to do with the Australian dollar pairs. We'll end up having a look at all of them. So the way it's coming up aggressive, because remember, we're meant to be looking for selling opportunities on the Australian dollar. right now, if we do end up looking at all the Australian dollar pairs and they're showing strength, there could be some portion right there. This is mainly because we did end up having some interest rate news early in the morning. You can see there's the interest rate news for the Australian dollar. It did end up remaining the same, but we would want to see what the big boys are actually trying to do. So we did end up keeping the bias the same in terms of looking for selling opportunities on the Australian dollar, but do trade them with caution, especially if you find them coming in very aggressive. There could be that caution right there. But a lot of the times you'll find that these markets will actually try and incite you. So where you find that the price has really gone up, what right now are most people thinking? That it's a buy. So if most people are jumping in on buys and you find the price actually coming back in and holding below this area, remember this level has not yet been breached. We need to see confirmation for it to be breached if it holds above. If it holds above, then chances are we'll still be looking for our selling opportunities all the way within the seller's area. Because remember, in order for us to sell, we need people who are willing to buy. So there's no new money being made. If you make money, someone else is losing money. You're making money from someone else, someone who did the opposite of what you are doing. So if you are buying, you need people who are willing to sell. So in order for the big sales to actually come in, we need to sometimes incite buyers if they're not necessarily enough. So when the price starts going up, and let's say by the time it's approaching here, all those people who are thinking it's a sell, it's a sell, it's a sell as the price is going down, once the price approaches this area, majority of people have now switched their bias and are now going to be looking for buying opportunities. But if they do not necessarily wait for that confirmation, you could easily find them getting stopped out. So wait to see what ends up happening on this pair. But remember, we did point out with this red support and resistance area, if the price breaks and holds above this red SNR, then this pair is definitely off our watch list for today. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar and what we're looking to do. You can see we've mixed and matched the Canadian dollar pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the US dollar pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. New Zealand dollar does seem to be showing quite a bit of weakness, which is a good thing. I mean, since we do want to look for those sells. So overall, today, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. We have identified these three areas of interest where we could end up finding some very nice selling opportunities. And remember, as we always point out, if you're looking for sells, sell where they're sellers. If you're looking for buys, buy where they're buyers. But overall, the bias here is to look for selling opportunities. And the fact that right now we're within a buyer's area, it could be a bit risky looking for your selling opportunities just here. One thing you could end up doing, remember we pointed out, is wait for a breach to the downside, and on that pullback, that would be much safer. It's more conservative, but it's much safer because you've gotten confirmation that that level has actually been broken. You're clear on the direction, and we could actually end up seeing the price continue to go down lower. But you can't necessarily try and target too far if that's the case. However, right now, since we're within a buyer's area, what we want to see is hopefully this market actually struggling, coming to the upside. Be aware it might not necessarily get all the way to the seller's area. Hopefully it does end up being, or at least hopefully it comes back within that area if it is a range, because we seem as if we're potentially starting to get into some sort of range. However, if not, we do have a small area of interest. You can see there's a small SNR right here as well. Those who have come for the intermediate session will possibly understand why there's a potential selling opportunity within there. So we'll wait to see how these buyers end up reacting. So hopefully they'll come in. If the price ends up approaching and you find the price within this particular area, within the market opening times, remember we mentioned 10, 3 or 4:30, we could end up finding a nice selling opportunity. Take note of also what currency pair are you trading? This being the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. These pairs are more active, one, during the Asian session because of the New Zealand dollar, and two, because of during the US session because of the US dollar. And especially also the fact that since we're dealing here with the US dollar, remember, most fundamentals for the dollar come out once the market is open. So you can see from 3:30, 4:15, 4:30, we have a lot of US dollar news later on today. So you could end up finding the market reacting also within one of those specific times. But for now, we'll wait to see what happens, either a breach to the downside or a pullback coming in for us to continue looking for those selling opportunities. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar as we move on to the next US dollar pair, which is the British pound against the US dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. Now, we can see the market had been coming down. Sellers seem to have started struggling to come down lower, couldn't make a new low, and the buyers have managed to come up higher. So overall, we will still be looking for selling opportunities, but it seems the sellers were not necessarily that strong at that point in time. Remember, even though we are always talking about buy with buyers and sell with sellers, if we want to sell, we also want to sell with strong sellers. And if we want to buy, we also want to buy with strong buyers. So in this situation, we can see the market, because it was coming down, very strong sellers, coming down again, very, very strong sellers. But the buyers showed a bit of interest in terms of how they came up. But if you compare how the sellers started coming down the next time, you can see they started struggling. Those are not strong sellers. It means that possibly this price right here, where the price attempted to try and come down lower, was not good enough, meaning it needed a better price. And you can see the price coming up higher, meaning what we started to incite a number of people to look for buys, which is a good thing for us. So overall, we still want to look for selling opportunities, but we want to make sure that these buyers who are pushing up actually die out first. So wait to see what ends up happening. You can see we're within a support and resistance area here. So if we do see the market coming up struggling, it could still even come all the way to this particular area, because if the price approaches this area, most people, all those people who are thinking it's a sell, it's a sell, it's a sell, all of them now start thinking it's a buy. And at that point in time, we're still within a seller's market, a seller's zone right here. So we'll still be looking for sales as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. Only once that level is reached to the upside and the price holds above is when this pair will fall off our watches and the sales are no longer valid. But as long as the price is holding below this area, we will be looking for selling opportunities. Alternatively, what could end up happening is if you do find the price breaching and holding below this area, that could also give you confirmation to be able to look for your selling opportunities on the British pound against the US dollar. So I hope that is clear for all of you on the British pound against the US dollar as we move on to the next US dollar pair, which is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, the Japanese yen has been showing a lot of weakness for a very long time. I think most of you, even if you go, let's say, to the daily time frame, you can see there's been a big flow to the upside. So meaning US dollar strength, Japanese yen weakness. And you will be able to see that correlation coming in on all currency pairs as well. But here, our buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. I think we did have a look at the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen, and it does look similar. So we'll end up having a look at that pair just now. But you can see we do have three areas of interest that we'll be watching out for. So we have the aggressive buyers area right here at the bottom. So as long as we're holding above this red SNR, we should be looking for buying opportunities. You can see we have a major level here, which was a resistance area that did turn into a support area. We're hoping to see the price maybe pulling back within there. It seems as if it found this small area where the buyers reacted from before, and they do seem to be attempting to push the price up again. But right now, since we're so close within the seller's area, it is not a good place to look for your buying opportunities just yet. Because remember, if you want to look for your buy, you'll start, your first problem area will be right here, meaning that's a place you should manage. And your closest place for your stop loss, it has to be all the way at the bottom there. That risk reward does not make sense. So do make sure that we actually are looking for, at least waiting for the pullbacks. It increases your risk to reward ratios and increases your probability of your trade working out. So for now, the best thing for us to wait for, similar with the other yen pair, either wait for a breach to the upside and we see the price holding above, we should be able to look for a buying opportunity to take the price up higher. You can see even though the price did that before, it came straight back in and never held above it. It actually went and confirmed that it was actually holding below. That gave you confirmation that the price is actually going to go down lower. But in this situation, since we are looking for the buys, let's get that confirmation that the price is going to hold above. If it comes back in and holds below, there's a possibility we might find the buy coming in all the way from this particular area. So just watch out for that on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. And you can see, I did point out Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen, they do look a bit similar. You can see this one is attempting to reach to the upside. There's a possibility that the US dollar against the Japanese yen could do the same thing. There is where you can be able to start telling, is it the US dollar, is it the Canadian dollar, or is it the yen pairs? In this situation, you can definitely tell it's the yen pairs showing a lot of weakness that is pushing this price up higher. So when you rely now, let's say once the US fundamentals come out and you find that the US dollar is showing strength, this pair will actually move even further, right? So that's the reason why we try and work with both pairs on our watch list to try and increase our probability as much as possible. So hope that's clear on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. As we move on to the next and last US dollar pair we do have, which is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation here. Our bias is to look for selling opportunities, but in this pair, do trade this one with caution. Remember, we did point out that we did have some Australian dollar fundamentals, some interest rate news that did come out. And clearly, since we were looking to see if we can grab some selling opportunities, the prices came down. It looked as if it was reacting within an area where the sellers. You should also be able to compare. How did the sellers push down this first time? Or in fact, you can always compare how many times they've done it. So the first time the price was here, look how aggressive they came down. Second time they were here, look at how aggressive they came down. Slightly less strength in comparison to the first time that they did it. But now when you compare how they came down within here, really struggling, not even really able to make a good look. So the buyers, the way they're coming in now, and the fact that the Australian dollar fundamentals that came out earlier, they were the same, but it seems that the big boys could be interested in buying the Australian dollar. So in this situation, even though we're still looking for sells, I would advise you to remain with caution, or at least trade this one with caution, because it still could be a sell. Remember, we do have our red support and resistance area here. So as long as we're holding below that level, it is still for a sell. It's only once the price breaches and holds above this red support and resistance area that this pair will fall off our watch list, and it possibly will confirm that the price could potentially go to the upside. But we won't necessarily be trading this one because remember, the US dollar is also meant to be showing strength. What if right now the price goes up within this area? Then once the US fundamentals come out, you could find the price actually coming down lower. Remember, we did point out we need some sort of incitement in order to move the price down lower. So watch out for that on this pair, but also at the same time, be cautious when you're trading the Australian dollar pairs because of that interest rate news that did come up. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So right now we're going to move on to the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side before we do the same thing with the euro pairs as well. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. You can see this market has been grinding down lower and lower. So overall, our bias here is still to look for selling opportunities. So we do have these three areas of interest. Aggressive support and resistance area is right there. So as long as we're holding below the red SNR, our bias is to look for selling opportunities. Right here, we do have a major SNR as well, because you can see this is a level that seemed to have been holding. It held right here. There was a probe. The market never actually held below, meaning this level was still holding to the upside. If you can see, you got that confirmation, and the price was actually still holding above this level. However, you can see right now we have breached this area to the downside. So we have also approached an area where they're buyers. So definitely we don't want to start jumping in on our selling opportunities anywhere close to this buyers area. But the fact that we're pulling back, let's see if we can potentially end up getting some sort of price action signal, some slowdown of the buyers within this particular area for us to potentially look for a selling opportunity. And do watch out for the market opening time. You could easily find, remember, as I said, the price is within that particular very nice area, and it could be there within one of the market opening times. So 10, 3, or 4:30. So just we'll take note of that on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So that one is pretty clear cut. We've just broken on support and resistance area. We seem to be trending. Let's wait for a pullback at the support and resistance area. Let's wait for a signal. Let's see the big boy sellers actually showing interest for us to continue looking for selling opportunities on the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the British pound against the Swiss franc. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias here is also to look for selling opportunities. So we'll be looking to see if we can grab selling opportunities based on these three areas. So we know we're big sellers based on these are the main sellers who push this price down low. So as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is to look for selling opportunities. So we do have a major scenario area here, which is also an area where there are sellers. You can see we did get some sort of pullback. The sellers are attempting to come down. But you can see how weak the sellers are looking. We compare how they came down this first time, and now there's a pullback and how they're attempting to come down. Maybe this price is not necessarily good enough. We could easily find the price maybe even attempting to come up a bit higher, maybe a bit slightly higher than this, but you can say it did not necessarily get all the way to the sellers. So what happens if, let's say, we have a support and resistance area here, and the price starts coming to the upside here? Most people, all the people who are still thinking sell, will now jump in on a buy, not necessarily getting confirmation. We could easily find the price probing, coming back in, and actually going to the downside. So we'll be a bit patient on this one and wait to see what happens. Right now, we're so close towards the buyer's area. It's not a good place to look for your selling opportunities just yet. What we could wait to see is some sign of big boy sellers coming in. We do see them coming and reaching to the downside, and we see the price actually holding below. We should be able to continue looking for those selling opportunities on the British pound against the Swiss franc. So for right now, just need to be a bit patient and wait to see what ends up happening with this pair. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. You can see that same correlation coming in with all these yen pairs. The strength that's really coming in. In fact, sorry, the level is meant to be here. It's like adjustment. So overall, our bias here is to look for buying opportunity. So you can see the main buyer who pushed up yesterday is right here. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. Right now, we're so close towards the seller's area. So this is not a good place to look for your buying opportunities. You could easily find the fact that sellers have reacted from there before, they could potentially react from there again. But since we are looking for these buys, if they do end up reacting, let's hope they actually come back down towards the support and resistance area for us to continue looking for those buying opportunities. But remember, we did look at the correlation between the yen pairs. So in order for us to look for a trading opportunity here, the main thing we'd need to wait for is that actual breach to the upside. And on that pullback that comes in, we should be able to look for a buy opportunity to take it up higher. But for now, it would be quite risky jumping in on a trade just now. So just be cautious about that. So moving on to the next currency pair, we do have the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, on this currency pair, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. So selling opportunities based on this right here. So we can see right now we have approached an area where there are buyers, and these buyers have seemed to be reacting quite aggressively. Remember, we did point out that the fundamentals that came out for the Australian dollar could end up bringing out some issues. So we wait to see what ends up happening within that area. But for right now, since we are still looking for selling opportunities, we'll be looking for sells as long as we're still holding below this red support and resistance area. We do end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within this area, we could potentially look for a selling opportunity. But remember, we did point out the Australian dollar has some caution as well. So if we do find the price continue going up higher, we could end up finding that that's actually what the Australian dollar pairs are actually going to do. But since we're looking for selling opportunities, as long as we're holding below here, it's still valid. But if it reaches and holds above, this pair will fall off our watch list. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So as we move on to the next currency pairs, so we are done with the Swiss franc pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the euro pairs before we do have a look at oil, gold, silver. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Apologies for this. Just really do apologize for that. Small technical difficulties is the first webinar, so do apologize for that. So we'll focus on the euro currency pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side. So starting off, we'll start off with the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Now, on this currency pair, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. You can see we do have three areas of interest, three levels that we always draw. So we have the aggressive area right there at the bottom. We have the semi-aggressive area right here where you can see the buyers have reacted from before. And we're approaching an area where there are sellers right there at the top. So since overall we're looking for buying opportunities on this, you can see the area where we're at. It's not a good place to look for those selling opportunities. The buying opportunity just yet, because these sellers could potentially end up reacting. And since we're still close towards the sellers area, I think if I go up to the 1 hour time frame, should be able to see we're back within a major support and resistance area that was breached. So the price came down lower. There was a pullback, and we are right here within a problem area. So these sellers could potentially end up reacting. However, the main thing we'll be waiting for to see is if we can actually get the price breaching and holding above this particular area right here. And the one way you can be able to take note, or at least to start getting clues that the price might be able to break that level, is watch to see what kind of reaction that the price actually gives. You can see the first time was quite aggressive. But right now, the price has come up. If we don't see much of a reaction or a weaker reaction than this, where the price ended up coming down previously, then there's a high probability we could end up breaking to the upside to continue going up higher. But for now, it would be best to actually be a bit patient, especially if we are able to get the price coming back down. You never know, this price could actually enter into some sort of range, still give us a pullback within this particular area, which could end up giving us a buying opportunity as well. But remember, the safest thing to do is always buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So hope that's clear on the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So we move on to the next currency pair that we do have. So for us, we'll be looking for buying opportunities on the euro against the British pound. So we'll be looking at buys based on these three levels. So we do have a seller's area right here where we are. So as usual, since we are looking for buys, this is not a good place to look for your buying opportunities, since those sellers could end up coming against you. Hopefully, we can end up getting this price giving us more of a pullback. Hopefully, it does come back within this area, but we are starting to see the way the sellers are pushing to the downside, they do seem potentially quite weak. So if we do see the price breaking and holding above, then we could potentially find a buying opportunity. But for now, I think for us, we'll still be looking for the buys. There's a high probability for those who have done the one-on-one mentorship course, will be able to identify that we do have a major support and resistance area down here at the bottom. You can even see we have an alert that we've set here. So for us, the best thing, what we'll be waiting for is if we can end up getting the price coming down lower. I know we're looking for buys, but we're always trying to look for buys within a very nice area that gives us the highest probability as the price goes up higher. So meaning if we look for a buy here, even if the price just gets towards the back here, that's still a good trade we can actually end up managing. And it has the potential of breaking to the upside and continue going. But for right now, since the price is so close to the seller's area, there's nothing much we can do for this one right now. But let's wait and see what ends up happening. So we'll just wait to be patient. If the price breaches to the upside and holds above, then I guess we will look for our buying opportunities there. And if you just show that the sellers do not have enough strength to actually bring the price all the way down low. So hope that's clear on the euro against the British pound as we move on to the next euro pair, which is the euro against the Japanese yen. You can see the same correlation coming in with all these euro pairs. Sorry, Japanese yen pairs, where all of them seem to be within an area where they're selling. So we can end up quickly looking at the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen, or within a seller's area, attempting to breach to the upside. The US dollar against the yen, similar situation. Swiss franc against the yen, similar situation. So it's no surprise that the euro against the Japanese yen is doing the same thing. So this is just showing you with correlation that the Japanese yen is actually showing some weakness right now. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If we can end up getting the breach to the upside and the price falls above, you can see all these times the market's actually just probed within this area and now it never actually really held above. So if we can get the price breaching, giving us a pullback, showing us confirmation that the price is actually holding above, and that's a true support and resistance area, we can be able to look for buying opportunity. But there's still a possibility if the buyers are not able to take it up higher, we could easily find the price coming down lower within this area before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but watch out for that correlation. If you find one of them pulling back, let's say coming back down within here, there's a high probability that all of them are doing the same thing. But if all of them breach the upside, then there's also a possibility. So if one of them breaches the upside, there's a possibility all of them are doing the same thing, which could also end up giving you an opportunity on multiple pairs. But remember, we always point out, don't necessarily, if you see one yen pair and you now try and sell all the yen pairs or buy all the yen pairs, that's very risky. It's literally putting all your eggs in one basket. If it works, yes, there's a potential of making a lot of money. But the opposite also applies. If it doesn't work, you could end up losing a lot. So just if you're going to choose a number of yen pairs, don't necessarily try and take all of them. Try and take maybe one or two to split your risk within there and not necessarily to over risk. Remember, the whole point here is to save your capital, because once your capital is over, there is nothing you can do on the market. So it's always trying to protect your capital in any way possible while keeping it to grow. So moving on to the last currency pair we do have, which is the euro against the Australian dollar. Now, this is a currency pair that we're looking at for buying opportunities. Remember, we did point out the Australian dollar pairs are showing a bit of strength right now. So overall, right now, you can see we're back within a major buyer's area. Overall, we're looking for these buying opportunities. It seems like it found some sellers area right there at the top, has come down really aggressive. This support and resistance area we thought would hold. You can clearly see the way the price has come down quite aggressive. Now, this is still for a buy, the euro against the Australian dollar. It is with caution, but what we would want to see, and we'd also want to see that correlation happening with all the other Australian dollar pairs, if we see the sellers struggling to actually break this level, or if it tries to break the downside and we see some big buyers coming in. And if we see that coming in, or at least that happens, and the price actually shows that it probes this area, or it's showing confirmation that the price is actually holding above this location, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities for this. However, if this price breaks to the downside and you see the price holding, and the pullback comes in, it actually holds below, and it tries to attempt to come down, then this pair is definitely off our watch list. And you could end up possibly at that time switching the Australian dollar pairs, possibly moving on to the buy side. But we'll end up having a look at it. And if there are any changes, we will end up informing you on the Telegram channel. So which I think there should be one specific link that should have all the links to allow you to be able to get access to our Telegram channel. So that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with all the pairs on the sell side. So for right now, we're going to have a look at oil, gold, apologies for that. We'll be looking at gold, silver, and a few indices as well, before I do end up addressing any questions from the Q&A section. So we'll start off with the NASDAQ. So in the NASDAQ, we have seen right now we are on the highest it's ever been, but you see, that's also a statement that you'll end up hearing a lot. I think last week it was the highest. Yesterday it was the highest it's ever been. The day before it was the highest it's ever been. So it keeps on making new highs each and every day. Just because it's the highest it's ever been, that doesn't mean it's time to sell or it's now about to go down. It could still potentially go up as long as people are really interested in looking for these buying opportunities. So can see the price managed to go to the upside. Now, take a note of the time. Remember, this is the US 100. The price at 3 o'clock, or at least let's take note, 10 o'clock, you can see not really much happening. So during the London session, in fact, the Asian session started here. This is all the market could do. Hardly anything in terms of entering some sort of break. Did not necessarily make new highs, did not make new lows. Similar situation. Once the London market opened, it's a similar thing. No highs, no new highs, no new lows. However, the time that the market started moving was not at 3, but it was now from 4:30. Once 4:30, and remember that's the New York Stock Exchange open, then you can clearly see how much volatility comes in. So take a note of that, and these are the things that we keep on saying. You might find that, yes, you're looking for that buy, or that trading opportunity, but it will happen within a specific time. So if you're not necessarily seeing that activity happening at 3, wait for 4:30. That's when you could potentially find that movement coming in. Similar situation with the fact that we have some fundamentals, at least a lot of fundamentals for the US dollar. You can see some of them coming out at 3:30, some of them at 4:15, but you might find that maybe there might not necessarily be much activity exactly when the news events are coming out, but you'll find that at 4:30, once the big boys take into consideration what these news actually say, that's when they actually start taking their orders, and that's when you possibly see those movements coming in the charts. So wait to see what happens, but here the bias is definitely to look for buying opportunities on this. The prices really did go up quite aggressive. The only problem is we need to see and get a pullback. So we always want to buy with strong buyers. You can see right now we approached an area where the sellers, what did the sellers do? They came around quite aggressive. And how are the buyers reacting? Not necessarily very strong. So there's a possibility we could still see the price coming down a bit lower, giving us more of a pullback before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. But if you find the market just maybe ranging within here, and you find that at 4:30, the price is within that buyer's area, there's a possibility you could find the price actually taking off from that area. So just take note of how, as long as we're within a buyer's area or a seller's area, your trading opportunity could take or could end up working. So we'll be looking for these buys as long as we're holding above here. But right now, the best thing for us to do is wait for a pullback. I don't think people would put their shops looking for, let's say, to buy a dress or a pair of shoes And when they say 10,000 shillings, they say, you know what, I'll pay 20,000. People don't want to pay the highest amount. They'll always ask for a discount. So let's try and apply that same concept within the charts. The price is so up higher, meaning in order for us to make money, the price needs to go up higher. So the best way for us to do something like that is, rather than guaranteeing that the price has to make a new high, why not just get a discount and sell it back at the highest price? That gives you more probability of your trade, or at least making money. And it's something that you can constantly repeat day in, day out. So I hope that's clear for the NAS 100. So we'll look at the Dow Jones, the US 30. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. It still is. I think if I go up to the 1 hour time frame, we did see the prices were coming down lower. At least they were coming down, or at least some big aggressive sellers. We did see it did give a pullback, and the sellers were still meant to push down lower. You can see it was holding within some sort of support and resistance area. This could have something to do with the US dollar. Remember, most of these indices are also correlated. So overall, we are still looking for sells, technically speaking, based on the fact that we've approached this main seller's area. But I would say take that sell with caution, mainly because we could easily find the price is actually starting to go to the upside, mainly because how aggressive these buyers who pushed to the upside yesterday did manage to. So the fact that we also breached an area of interest right here, we'll still be looking for sells, but what's most likely to happen is we could find a selling opportunity coming in, but it might not necessarily break this area. This is an area of interest, definitely an area you need to watch out for, especially if you do grab your selling opportunities. Do make sure you manage your trade, because there's a possibility if the buyers end up reacting aggressively here, we might actually find them attempting to go up higher. So, but for now, we will still be looking for sells as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. If the price is able to actually break and hold above this location, that's when we should be able to jump in, or at least switch our bias and start looking for buying opportunities to take this price up higher. So I hope that is clear on the US 30 as well. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. So right now we'll look at silver, and we'll end up looking at gold as the last pair. So on silver, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that we have right here. Right now, if we're looking at the market structure of what it's doing, it does seem to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. You can see the fact that the price has probed multiple times. Whenever it's coming down, it goes back up. The attempts to come down, goes up. You can clearly see this support area is holding, as well as this seller area right here is holding. So overall, we will be looking for selling opportunities. Right now, if we are looking for a trade within a range, the best place to look for the sell is right there at the top. Don't try and look for trading opportunities in the middle. You will get very frustrated as you find the trade being positive, negative, positive, negative. It's always best to look for your trades within the best possible area. So buy with buyers and sell with sellers. So overall, since we're looking for sells, we do have our last area here. So I think I can just go quickly to the 1 hour time frame, so you can just have a quick look at the overall picture. So the price has been coming down lower. You can see the main seller who pushed down lower is this seller right here. And it seems to be also a major support and resistance area. So as long as we're holding above, or sorry, below this particular area, our bias should definitely be to still continue looking for those selling opportunities on silver. So just take note of that. But for right now, we'll wait to see what kind of pullback we do end up getting. So hope that's clear. Not necessarily much to write home about on this one, based on the fact that we're within a range, look for sells at the top of the range or buys at the bottom. But here you have a higher probability of taking the sells at the top, because the overall flow is still to the downside. So last but not least, we do have gold. Now on gold, here our bias is to look for selling opportunities. Similar situation with silver. So yesterday we did see the price coming down lower. Remember, we did point out these particular areas. So just highlight all the areas. So we do have the aggressive sellers area right there at the top, meaning as long as we're holding below this area, we should be looking for selling opportunities. If the price breaks and holds above this red support and resistance area, we can actually start looking for buying opportunities on gold. So since we have these three areas, It's very easy to watch out. Remember, I did point out that if we can get the price breaching and holding below this area, we could potentially look for sells. You can see the price attempted to yesterday, but could not. And did end up pointing out when we were having the session yesterday, I remember the price was within this buyer's area. Did say trade this with caution because you could easily find these buyers reacting. And you can see, even though they not necessarily take the price up much, much higher, it did end up giving some sort of reaction where even the sellers at around 430 did end up attempting to try and come down lower, but could not break this support and resistance area. So overall, the story is still the same. We'll still be looking for selling opportunities. Let's see if we can get the price coming down lower, breaching this area to the downside and holding below for us to continue looking for selling opportunities. Or if we do find the price holding above, we could still find the price coming all the way back towards the main seller's area right there and still be for a sell. So right now, we wait to see what happens. We're so close to where this buyer's area. So right now, I would be expecting the price to potentially come down lower. Now, even if it does come down lower, make sure, even though we have the main buyers all the way at the bottom, there seem to be some levels right here as well. You can see an area where the buyers have reacted from before. It's also a support and resistance area. So also take note of such levels right here at this particular price, around 2,300. And 5, it could end up also giving you some issues. You might maybe find the buyers could end up coming in quite aggressive there. Because one thing to take note of is, especially when you look at it on a higher time frame, you can see if you compare how the buyers came up and how the sellers are coming down, the buyers still look a bit more stronger there. So that's the reason why there's caution, and you can see where those buyers started was right here. So since there's a possibility the price can pull back all the way to this area and then push the price up higher. But for now, buyers on this will be looking for selling opportunities. So I hope that's clear, and that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side, and also had a look at gold, silver, and the Nasdaq, at least some indices. So I want to see if there are any questions on the Q&A section before we call it a day. So seeing Esther Kabiru saying good morning, great to have you back. Glad to see you here, Esther. Missed you as well. So Mark Chege is saying hi, it's good to see you guys back. How do you get the 3 levels? Can you touch on it a bit? I know we did end up going through it yesterday during our first session, and I know the recording is available on our YouTube channel where we did end up streaming this, so you can be able to check it out. But ideally, we do a lot of research. So we'll come here, first of all, we'll have a look at the fundamentals, previous fundamentals, what ended up happening. Then we'll look at correlation as well, have a look at all the currency pairs, let's say all US dollar pairs, all euro pairs, and look and see what exactly is happening with that, if the big boys are actually doing anything in particular. Then with our technical analysis skills, we'll end up identifying areas where there are buyers and sellers. There are concepts we teach about fault zones in the masterclass course. And I know we are giving a big offer on the masterclass course, because there is a program that we want to do afterwards. And the masterclass is a very good foundation and a prerequisite for that course. So we do end up explaining that as well, where we teach you, are we in a buyer zone or in a seller zone? Where are the main buyers and where are the main sellers who are responsible for pushing? That's why we have these levels where we're like, if the price passes a certain area, the trade is no more, at least in terms of that direction. So we do go through a lot of that there. So I hope that's clear for you, Mark. Susan Kitai is saying, morning Afriforex, thanks for coming back. Be blessed. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for joining us here, Susan. Valentine Kichuki is saying, quick question. Will the Monday swing sessions resume also? We look to see. Hopefully we'll do that soon. I think we even explained yesterday that we want to just come in slowly. We'll start off with these ones first before we do end up moving on to the bigger things. So including the weekly swing, as well as possibly some live trading as well. So we'll keep you up to date on that, right? So not seeing any more questions, which is okay. At least we do have a few minutes before the London market does end up opening. So at least it should give us a bit of time to have a quick scan on what pairs are looking nice, some pairs of interest of yours, and then possibly look for some nice trading opportunities. So remember, be aware that we have a lot of fundamentals today. So for the euro, you can see a lot of euro news at 12. that are going to be coming out, some CPI news. Before we also have some USD news at around 3:30 and 4:30. So we'll end up expecting a lot of volatility on both those pairs. So I guess that is it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys for joining me so much today. Really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have found value in this session. Remember, if you do manage to take any trade setups that we do end up that we've shared here today, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details should be in the chat box. You can send them in to us via WhatsApp. At least we'll give you a shout out here to see whether or not and how the setups that we are sharing are helping you guys out. So my name is Mitch Kanyaro. For those who are late, I want to thank you guys so much once again. And hopefully we'll be seeing you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So cheers, guys. Have an amazing trading day. May the pips be with you. God bless and bye for now. Cheers.